right now. Today is the day that you choose to change the rest of your life. It is time to turn your setback into the greatest comeback story ever told, and nobody is more capable than you. This is the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast, the future #1 weight loss podcast in the world. I am your host, Donato Russo. I hope you enjoy the show today. If this is your first time here and you enjoy the show, please subscribe and spread the word of the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast wherever you are and to whomever will listen. If you'd like to connect on social media or wherever else, check out my Linktree page, Linktree/the Ranting Weight Watcher. Let's connect today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 214 of the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast. Journey updates. I am up this week, 1.2 pounds. Total loss since January 2019 is 176.4 pounds. Total pounds remaining to the 200-pound milestone is 23.6 pounds. From the moment I woke up Saturday morning, I felt different. There was something odd, very, I can't even explain how different I felt. When you spend the majority of your life obese, and then all of a sudden you wake up one morning and you feel deflated. Deflated is literally the only word I could think to say about when I woke up Saturday morning. I mean, I felt like my skin was all just hanging, like it was empty. And I mean, from the moment I woke up, I just got up out of bed easier. Everything was just right. I went to get dressed to go for my walk because every Saturday morning I wake up at 4:30, 4 o'clock, whatever it is, and I get ready to go for a walk, and then I'm out the door. I put the clothes on, and now, granted, all of my athletic shorts are too big right now. But on Saturday morning, when I went to put them on, it was still different. See, even though that they were big before, the elastic was still good enough to keep them on. I didn't have to worry about anything. But on Saturday morning, I would take a few steps and they would start to fall off. I mean, and I was just walking around the room, brushing my teeth, doing all the things I normally do on Saturday morning. So I said, okay, well, you know what? Let's use the string and tie it. So that's what I did. I tied the string, to keep the shorts up. But I noticed also when I put the shirt on, the shirt was like swimming on me. It was flowing. It was moving away from my skin. I mean, I went through my entire life feeling material against my body. There was no flowiness away from the skin. Even when clothes were big, they were still hanging on my stomach. They were not coming down from my shoulders and drifting away from my skin. I don't even know if you guys understand what I'm saying here. But I noticed this right away as I got ready to go for my walk on Saturday morning. It was all very odd to me. I try to stay away from things that are subjective. If it's based in feelings versus facts, I tend to disregard it. But I also deal in trends, right? So if I wake up in the morning and I'm feeling deflated, like my skin doesn't feel as full as it just normally does, and then I go to put my shorts on and my shorts are falling off with every few steps to the point where I have to tie them, and then I put my shirt on to have my shirt dancing away from my body. That's 3. 3's a trend. So even though the things I'm looking at are subjective and what I may see and what somebody else may see might be 2 different things. And because of that, I would stay away from it. But something also was triggered that morning by a trend. And then it hit me later in my walk that same week, throughout the week, there was 2 or 3 people at work who said I looked different, that my face looked different. I don't know what to make of it. So all of this was coming together at the same time. I hadn't even left for my walk yet. I finally get out the door, as I normally do on Saturday morning, and I go for my walk. And it's just my normal walk. There's nothing different about it. Nothing different except noticing that my shorts are not touching my leg. They're flowing away from my leg. And my shirt is flowing away from my chest and body. It's just flowing away. I feel like I'm looking straight down and there's no stomach lump. I'm just looking straight down. Couldn't help but notice this. And the more I noticed it more because when I'm leaving at 4 a.m., it's dark out, right? So as the sun came up later, toward the end of my walk, I noticed this more. I mean, I felt it flowing away from my body as I was walking. I felt my leg moving within the fabric of my shorts, where normally the shorts are kind of tight around the leg. Not really tight, but they're there. It's obvious. And I remember thinking, is this what it feels like when you start to feel comfortable in your own skin? I was analyzing all this on Saturday morning as I walked. By the time I come to my end of my walk, and I'm making a walk video for you guys, I couldn't ignore it anymore at this point. I felt so good. But every single time I've ever felt good, every single time that I thought a feeling should mean a good scale result, it's never translated that way. So even though I felt it, I was trying not to say it in my walk video. Because even though it feels one way, it typically goes another. So as amazing as it felt to have the clothes feel so flowy on my body and not be tight against my skin and barely touching me, to have my shirt only land on my shoulders, really. I mean, as amazing as all of that felt, all of those little things I noticed. I mean, I go home and get ready to take a shower, whatever, come out, and I go to shower and I go to step on the scale. The scale goes up 1.2. So it only confirms everything I always think of when I feel like this. When I feel like this should be a good weigh-in based on whatever the criteria I happen to notice. It all comes to fruition when I step on the scale and I'm up 1.2 pounds. I couldn't help but laugh that morning because, of course, I would feel all of these wonderful feelings and then step on the scale and have it be up. But I couldn't help but feel that maybe this is what it's like when the composition of your body starts to transform. Because what they told me about strength training from the beginning, they told me that in the beginning, the scale barely moves at all. And really, the composition of your body changes more than anything else. And maybe the scale goes up a little, but everything else is slimming down. The shape of the body is changing, even though the scale number is staying relatively the same. And over the past few weeks, yes, it has gone up a little, has come down a little, gone up a little, come down a little. So these are all kinds of things that I expected during this transitionary period in my life. Last week in particular, there was another added thing to add to all of the how good I felt on Saturday morning. And I'll start it by saying I have heard many people say that there's an energy boost that comes with working out. I've heard many people say this. And really, up till recently, I can honestly tell you, never once had I ever felt it. Never once. When I started to make strength training a regular part of my life, I started by making it 2 times a week for 8 weeks. And then I went 3 times a week for 8 weeks. And now I am reintroducing walking because I had put walking on hold while I was building this. So I'm maintaining 3 times a week while getting walking back to 5 days a week. So for the next 8 weeks, walking is guaranteed 3 days a week. And then 8 weeks from now, it'll be 4 days a week. And the next 8 weeks after that, it'll be 5 days a week. That's the current plan. I do everything in 8-week increments because at the end of that 8 weeks, I could see how many of these 8 weeks did I meet my criteria. My criteria is walk 3 days, strength train 3 days. That's the current criteria. So at the end of these 8 weeks, I'll be able to look back and say, out of 8 weeks, I did it 7 times. Now, the one time is not going to ruin consistency. That's going to be the anomaly. And the consistent work is going to be represented by the majority of the time. This is how I gauge success in creating consistent work. This is also how everything became the building block to how the scale stopped having power over my life. Because the more I concentrated on the work I did, the less the scale result bothered me or concerned me in any way. Because I knew I was doing the work. I did it with walking, I did it with eating, I did it with weighing and measuring, and now I'm doing it with strength training. I also learned a lot about nutrition. And it's not just about strength training, it's not just about cardio, it's about getting the nutrition right. And maybe all of those people that talk about this energy boost that comes when you work out, maybe the common denominator in it all is they all have their nutrition right. And recent moves I've made for my own nutrition have pushed that needle way into the right direction by eliminating processed food, by eating only foods that have been made by a family member, by eating only foods that if it came from an animal, I would eat it. So eggs come from an animal, milk comes from an animal, cheese comes from an animal, I would eat it. If it grew out of the ground, I would eat it. And if it was part of an animal, I would eat it. Anything that came in a box was no longer food. Any snack food that came in a wrapper was no longer considered food. These are the food choices I currently make. I am closer than ever right now of choosing one thing and having that one thing be one ingredient. Because still now, there are multiple ingredients, but nowhere near the amount of ingredients it used to be. When all of my snack foods were involved, my ingredients, the total number of ingredients, I'm not even talking about what the ingredients are. The total number of ingredients was through the roof. Yet we were told these things are fine for you, they're good for you, and all of these things. When I was diagnosed with the autoimmune condition, this is the spark that created the push that was like, okay, that's it. We're going full force with this. Because there was no way I was going to spend my life on medication. I refused to believe that shutting down my immune system with medication was the right tactic in treating something that would never go away according to the doctor anyway. So literally his answer was, make me comfortable with my condition by shutting down my immune system. This never made any sense to me, and I was convinced from head to toe this problem was because of nutrition. I attacked it head on and started changing everything I eat. I started with just changing it by choosing another one like it with less ingredients. I've talked to you guys about this before, that if you're eating potato chips and the potato chips you eat now, say, have 40 ingredients, if you can find one with 20 ingredients, choose that one. But keep looking. Keep looking until the bag of ingredients says potato, oil, salt. 3 ingredients that you can keep in your house. In the cabinet, you can have those 3 things. You can go and buy them and you can have them legally in your home. That's how you should be approaching everything you eat with multiple ingredients. Start by cutting them lower and lower and lower. Find versions of the same thing with less ingredients. None of this is easy. All of it is hard. Living life healthy is hard. Living life unhealthy is hard. Your actions dictate your choice. If you continually choose to do things that are basically going in the wrong direction, you're choosing it. This is not something happening to you. You're choosing it. So I encourage everyone, if they're eating an ice cream and that ice cream has 30 ingredients, find one with 20, find one with 25, anything to get lower. And then once you find that one with lower, look for another one lower. You got all the time in the world here. Keep looking until you recognize every ingredient on that list. Do this with everything you eat. And once you get there, you're going to realize something big, and it might even make you excited. You're going to realize that food no longer has the hold on you that it used to have. You won't have the cravings you used to have, because all along, the foods you were eating have ingredients that create the cravings. No one understands that, even though I say it all the time. But my moves for my own health started all of this. And when I got to the point where I was eating everything the way I was eating, but with less ingredients, I realized how good I felt. I realized the food didn't have a hold on me anymore. And that made me more excited to want to go further with it. And to even go to the point where I'm saying, you know what? It's time to go to real food only. So instead of looking for less ingredient potato chips, I just got rid of potato chips. If I have a potato chip here or there now, that's literally it. I'll have it one day, and then months go by before I have it again. All of these things are still in my home. I'm only feet away from any of those things right now, but they no longer have a hold on me because I incrementally removed ingredients from my life that caused me to crave them in the first place. As I came closer and closer and closer to having the number of foods I ate match the number of ingredients I ate, all of a sudden, these bursts of energy would come. Now, I have no idea if this is the case. I don't know if what I'm feeling is what I think I'm feeling, because I don't know enough about the human body and how it works to say it. But I can only give you what my theory is. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't mind being wrong. But my theory is the closer I get to removing certain foods from my life, the more keto-like I'm eating. Right now, I eat less than keto. And I say less than keto, I mean keto allows for 50 grams of carbohydrate intake. I spend the majority of the week under 10. 10 grams of carbohydrates. I spend the majority of my week there. On Saturday and Sunday, I want some fruit, so I'm way higher. But if you average it out over 7 days, I'm definitely in keto numbers. We're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. I now present to you the Ranting Weight Watcher Accountability Creed. If you choose this day to say this creed, you are accountable to me, the author. You are also accountable to all of those before you who have taken the creed, and all of those after you who will take the creed. But most of all, you are accountable to yourself. Now recite with me the Accountability Creed. Nothing can stand in my way because I choose to be unstoppable. My challenges crumble in my presence because I choose strength when I am weak. My insecurities have no power over my life because I choose confidence in the face of fear. I own every last one of my mistakes because I choose growth over mediocrity. The mirror and the scale are powerless because I move forward in spite of the result. Circumstances are not obstacles because I see solutions instead of problems. The demons of my past can no longer torment me because I choose to renew my mind daily. All things are possible as long as I believe, because if God is for me, who can be against me? This is the creed I declare each day. It is about what I do, not what I say. I will learn the work that needs to be done. I will never stop, even when I've won. I will work consistently, no matter the cost. I refuse to believe that all hope is lost. I will work when I want to. I will work when I don't. I will work when they are cheering. I will work when they won't. I will work when it's easy. I will work when it's hard. The atonements that I've made are made with no regard. I will work when it's cold. I will work when it's hot, because choices have consequences, justified or not. When I think I know it all, I will start back at one, because regardless of what I think, the work is never done. And from this moment forward, when times are tough, I choose to believe that I am enough. And we are back. Thanks for sticking with me. But what happens in keto? What made keto such a popular thing? By eating it this particular way, you force the body to see the fat in your body as a fuel source rather than sugar. Because carbs and sugar, if they are introduced into the body, they override everything as the fuel source. Your energy comes from carbs and sugar. And every time you eat carbs or sugar, it creates a sugar spike, which creates energy spike. That sugar spike is very short term, and then it crashes, and you go to a lull of energy. So the next thing you're going to do is crave sugar again, because that's how the body works. It knows it got a burst of energy from sugar the last time, so you're going to keep craving it. And the time to have the sugar spike and the time to crave it again is like 2 hours. So by changing the way I ate, I leveled all of the sugar spikes. There were no longer any because of the low carbohydrate intake I was in. And because of that low carbohydrate, there's no insulin. No insulin present means your body can actually grab the fat and use it for energy. If insulin is present in your body, your fat just stays stored. It can never be burned. It doesn't matter if you spend hours on a treadmill. It doesn't matter what you do. If insulin is in the body, fat cannot be burned. And if you don't burn all of the carbohydrates you create, guess what gets stored as fat? Eventually, it gets converted to glycogen and stored as fat in your body. So you're continually eating something that creates an insulin spike. And as long as insulin is present, you're not burning fat. And by eating that, you're going to only crave more sugar, which causes more insulin spikes, which means if you're not immediately burning this energy you're eating, it's all going to get stored as fat. So even though you're actually trying to lose fat, you're creating more in the process because of the way you choose to eat. These are all things I've learned in a little over a year time at this point. It's crazy what can happen in a year. Crazy. But in my quest to eat less carbohydrates, less processed food, only real food, only what hunters and gatherers could have eaten, that's what I eat. But eating in this certain way created a situation where my body started to burn the fat I have as energy. Once I was in these zones, once my body had switched to take its fuel source from sugar to fat, I noticed these energy spikes. So much energy, I did not know what to do with it. So I feel like whenever I am in ketosis, I felt like I had all of this crazy energy. I didn't even know what to do with myself. And sometimes it would happen at weird times of the night. And I would have this crazy energy. But also in the process, because of that, I believe, because of those changes I made nutritionally being due to a autoimmune condition, something miraculous happened when I introduced the strength training. And for the first time in my life, I could say I understand what those guys are saying when they are saying that they'll work out and feel energetic after. And that's why I could tell you that strength training is what did this for me. But not just strength training, finding balance with nutrition and strength training is creating this energy that I didn't otherwise ever feel. So on top of my clothes just kind of flowing away from my body on Saturday morning, on top of the literally everything I noticed, feeling my skin feeling deflated, the less bloated feeling that I was feeling. On top of all that, I get on the scale. It's a gain. I'm kind of laughing it off. It doesn't matter to me because I understand the transitionary period I'm in comes with stuff like this. So it's not even, the gain is not even a concern. But it was shortly after that I hit this energy burst. And I'm getting dressed and I'm moving at a speed that it's not normal for me. And it's all I can think about is how incredible it feels. How incredible this energy feels. And finally understanding what all of those guys are saying when they tell them that working out gives them energy. I never understood it before. It all came together at the same morning. After having stepped on the scale and feeling all of those subjective things I'm looking at, like, oh, my shirt is really big. I had to tie my shorts. My leg is flowing within the shorts. The fabric is not sticking to my leg. The shirt is flowing away from my body. My stomach doesn't fill it. All of these things all came together right after a game with this burst of energy. And all I wanted was more. All I wanted was more. But it was definitely confirmation that all of the moves I made nutritionally was what got me here, accompanied by the strength training. Not the reverse. It wasn't strength training that got me the feeling. It was the nutrition first, then the strength training. If I never fixed my nutrition, if I never became obsessed with only eating food that could be hunted or gathered, I don't know that I'd ever feel this feeling. I don't know that I'd ever be able to move away from, I don't know that I could survive a day under 10 grams of carbs. I would never have gotten to this point if I was eating all of those other packaged things still. Never got there. That stuff had such a hold on my life. And it was such a ritualistic part of my life. that I could not let it go. I could not let it go until there was a catalyst. And that catalyst was bigger than the other. Your desire to be healthy has to be bigger than your desire for what your addiction is. And that's essentially what happened to me. My obsession became with not being on medication for the rest of my life. It no longer mattered. The food was ready to be thrown out no matter what, because my goal was more important. So let me move into Sunday. I actually experience this every Sunday. Every Sunday since we started to approach the holiday season. On the days of the week where I walk the park that are not Sunday, I'm on one side of the park before I come home. On Sunday, though, I walk the entire park. Walking the entire park means I get to see all of the Christmas lights they're setting up for their Christmas show. And essentially, and that's the part that I can't ignore anymore. And it's so crazy to believe that it's only been a year. Well, not even exactly a year yet. The very first time I walked the entire park was less than a year ago. Because the very first time I walked the park, the Christmas decorations were up. But it was the end of the season. Things were getting ready to come down. I just watched all of the things go up. So I'm not a year into walking this entire park. And meanwhile, walking that entire park was one of the biggest accomplishments in my 5+ years on plan. That day, that very first time I walked the full park, was almost a 10-mile walk. 9.95. And everybody laughed when I showed them. They said, why didn't you just stay and circle the parking lot and make it an even 10? My legs felt like they were going to fall off. That's why. But I did it. I did it. I came home when I didn't think I could do it. I did it. And that day was a wonderful feeling. And here I am, and it's not been a year. So much changes in a year. So much. Last year, this time, I was still debating, can I do it? And it wasn't until after Christmas that I actually started. Isn't that amazing? And now I do it every Sunday, and it's just normal. It's just Sunday. It's just what I do. I'm reminded of this every Sunday morning. Every Sunday morning when I start to see the Christmas decorations, I'm reminded of the amount of stuff that has changed in less than a year. I am staring in the face of what I have done for my life in less than a year every Sunday. There's one word that created all of this. In the entire dictionary, there is one word that created this entire feeling. The Saturday morning feeling and the feeling on Sunday that I have been feeling ever since they started putting those decorations up. There's one word. That word is consistency. And I walk every Sunday. And every light, every decoration I look at in that walk on that part of the park is a reminder. This is what consistency looks like. This is what consistency has done for your life. It hasn't been a year, and you are completely transformed. The person you were a year from today is completely different than who you are right now. Because a year from today, I wasn't walking the park fully. I was only walking half the park. And now I walk the full park. Consistency. It's not just what I say to you guys. It's what I live. And when I tell you, you guys, that all you need is to create consistent work and the scale won't matter, I lived all of it. I'm living the benefit of that right now. You may think I'm crazy. But I did it. I depend so strongly in my work ethic that I could stare at the scale going up and not be moved because I know my work is consistent. If my work was not consistent, I would constantly question what I'm doing every time the scale goes in the wrong direction, because my value would be in the result. The word consistency would make everyone a success story. Consistency in tracking, consistency in weighing and measuring, consistency in showing up for yourself with activity. Consistency and perfection have nothing to do with one another. So don't mistake my words. Consistent effort will destroy the power that the result has over you. If you don't have consistency, you will be if you don't have consistency, you will be ruled by the result. If you create consistency, the result will be broken. It won't matter. It will not have any of the power that it has right now. So my question to you guys today is, how long do you allow one word in the entire dictionary to stop you from everything you've ever wanted? I can't help but wonder how many people hear this versus how many people will listen to this. That's the sad thing in all of this. Because everything I experienced, you want to tell the world when you experience something like this. The problem is, they can't grasp it unless they have experienced it themselves. Anyone else, this is just some weird feeling that you have. They don't get it because they've never felt it. And it doesn't really matter how long I say this, how often I say this, and how loud I say this. The truth is, the only way you'll ever understand anything I said today is the day you experience it. That's the day all of my words come to life in your mind. And you know, this is what he was talking about. This is what he meant. Because that's the only way. I could talk until I run out of breath, but you can't grasp what you can't grasp. You can't feed a baby filet mignon. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what else to do here. But I know that you guys need to feel this. I want the world to feel what I felt. And the only way to get there is be consistent. Be consistent to a fault. To make people think you're crazy because of how consistent you are. When you got people looking at you that you're crazy because of what you need to do every single day without question, that's when you know you're doing something right. I experience that all the time. When you get to the point where there is no compromise, A, B, and C are getting done no matter what. That's when your life transforms. And then only after that will you get to this point to feel these things. It's on the horizon if you could just be consistent. I love each and every one of you. God bless you all.